Hey, what you reading for?
Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel where I talk about books, usually literary or horror, classics and contemporary, but in this video, something a bit different. I had spent months binging on horror, reading book after book after book after book of blood and death and gore and violence, all around good times, right? But after a while, I felt like something was missing. I didn't know what that something was, but I decided I needed a change of pace. So I woke up one morning and I said, I am going to read a romance book. What? True story. Now, what I did was I got a list of great romance, supposedly great romance books. And I made a video where I went through that list to decide which romance book I was going to read, and also where I could ask viewers for recommendations. From that list, I ended up reading Normal People by Sally Rooney, and it was fine, I suppose. But typical me, I was not satisfied. I wanted more. Unfortunately, I got many great recommendations from viewers. And one name that came up several times was Tal Bauer, who writes male, queer romance. Now, I don't know why his name came up several times. Is it that in the romance community there is really no difference between queer romance and straight romance? Or is it that many viewers of this channel think that I am gay? Or is it just a coincidence? I don't know why his name came up many times, but I'm very glad that it did because I listened to my viewers and I read Tal Bauer, and I'm very glad that I did. So I decided to read Tal Bauer based solely on viewer recommendations. And the book I chose to read from him is called Gravity from 2022. Now, why did I choose Gravity? Well, it is set in Quebec, which had me very excited. I've never been to Quebec physically, but it sounds fantastic. I really want to go there, so at least let me go there in a book. And secondly, it features hockey players. I don't know anything about hockey. So I'm interested because I love, in books, I love being in an environment that is unfamiliar to me. I like to learn and experience new things. That's what books allow me to do. And hockey, I know it's sports. I know it's competition and ambition and winning and fighting, and all those things appeal to me, right? This book, Gravity, was exactly what I wanted. It is a book that delivers what it promises. How refreshing is that? Too many books that are put out these days, they try to appeal to too many people. They try to be something that they're not. They make promises that they have no intention of keeping, and they'll use book covers, like generic book covers with generic fonts so that it could be any genre, because they just want to appeal to as many people as possible. But Tal Bauer and Gravity does not do that. On the cover of Gravity is a picture of a hockey player. So it's promising hockey, and it delivers. There's lots of hockey in this book. And also, Tal Bauer as a writer makes very specific promises. And I'm going to share with you an excerpt from his biography. This I took from Goodreads. It says, Tal Bauer writes breathtaking, heartfelt, and often action-packed gay romance novels. His characters are head over heels for each other and fight against all odds for their happy ending. Nothing stands in the way of love. So he's making very specific promises. He's action-packed gay romance novels. He's not trying to appeal to everyone. He's being very specific. Characters are head over heels, happy ending. heartfelt, action-packed gay romance. Specific promises, and he delivers on all those promises. How refreshing is that? I loved that about this book. There was a lot I loved about this book, actually. I had a blast with it. But I will start by telling you a few things that I didn't love about it. It's so few. They're little nitpicky things. So we have two main characters. They're both professional hockey players. One is from Texas and one is from Montreal. And the character from Montreal, his name is Bryce, and he definitely favors French over English. The book is told from alternating perspectives. One chapter is from Bryce's point of view. One is from Hunter, from the guy from Texas, his point of view. And when we are in Hunter's point of view and he's talking with Bryce, we can tell that Bryce, he throws in some French expressions and he's not that comfortable with English. And it works really well. But then when we go into Bryce's point of view, his chapters, they're written completely in English, which doesn't really make sense. And at first it was a little bit jarring. Why? We're in his head, but his head is in English, which kind of it seems out of character. Which I get is an unrealistic expectation to have the book written one chapter in English and one chapter in French. I mean, that would be really narrowing down the target reader for this book. But I guess that's the drawback of multiple points of view. It wasn't that big of a deal. It was just something I noticed, and it kind of bothered me at first, and then I got over it. The second nitpick is that it's not really that steamy, actually, of a romance book. There are probably 3 sex scenes, I want to say, but they're pretty tame. I was expecting something a little bit more steam, I guess, more sex and more graphic sex. It's really not that graphic. Most of my experience, like the majority of my experience with romance, it comes not as a reader, but as a writer, as a ghost writer. I will occasionally work on romance series, or I will work on books in a series. An author starts a series and they pass it on to a ghostwriter. More often than not, what I'm asked to do is romance, and it's pretty steamy romance. So my expectation is set. When I think of romance, I'm thinking of these kinds of things, which are pretty steamy. And this book wasn't that steamy. It was pretty tame as far as the sex goes. And I was kind of looking forward to more steam, but it's not that steamy, but it's fine. And the third nitpick is they play in the NHL, the National Hockey League, which is a real thing, and they play for the team in Montreal, but they don't use the real name, the Montreal Canadiens. They use a different name, Les Étoiles, which was fine, but why didn't they just use the real name, you know? I mean, worst case scenario, like the Montreal team probably wouldn't care, but it's their rival team in Seattle. Maybe he depicts their rivals as being too aggressive, or they don't play fair, maybe. So worst case scenario is the Seattle team, which I believe is called the Kraken, the Seattle Kraken. They say, we don't like the way you're depicting our team. It's not right and it's not true. We're going to sue you. Great. And then it's free publicity. Well, not free, but it's publicity. And there's no way that they would win that lawsuit. So it felt unnecessarily safe to change the name. And I kind of wanted the real name. And I didn't get the real name. But that's a nitpicking thing. It works fine. Les Étoiles, it works fine. That's my little nitpicking of what I didn't like about the book. What I liked about the book, and there's a lot. I had a blast with this book. I liked firstly that there's quite a bit of French in there, and it's not translated, but it works fine in context. In fact, in the author's notes, the preface to the book, he says there are so many good like translation services. Like if you're reading on a Kindle, I think you can click on a word and get a definition or a translation. I think something like that. So he said, just make use of that technology, but you probably don't need it. I mean, it works fine in context. There's even some Russian, and it works fine in context. They happen to use the Russian words that I know, and French I know, obviously. But I think even if you don't know those languages, it's fine. But I appreciate that he asks or expects something from the reader. It doesn't just spoon feed everything. So I like that the French wasn't translated, nor was the Russian, which worked really nicely. I also liked hockey. It promises hockey and it delivers the hockey, and I thought the hockey was fun. I would not consider myself a hockey fan. I really don't know much about the game, but I had a good time in the matches and experiencing the matches, and it was a lot of fun. There's also some interesting intrigue going on in this book, right? So the characters, it's over the top, right? They meet and it's amazing, and they fall in love and it's amazing, right? It's over the top, exactly what I wanted from this book. I mean, there's no effort made to be realistic, which I thoroughly enjoyed. You know, I am not interested in reality. I'm interested in love, yeah? And that's what it gave me. But there's a very interesting intrigue going on, because these hockey players, they're professional hockey players in the NHL. And surely there are some gay players, but there are no openly gay players. So when they fall in love, what's hanging over them is this idea, this fact that what's going to happen when the other players find out. How are the other players in the league going to react to them being gay? And how are they going to find out, right? Both of those questions are handled very well in this book. Perfectly, even, I would say. Not realistic, but again, to hell with reality. This is love, yeah? Handled very well. And it brings me to another thing that I really loved about this book, is that there is zero social commentary in this book. A book from 2022 about gay men in a very heteronormative, I believe is the word, heteronormative environment, which is the National Hockey League. So many opportunities to make statements about homophobia or about not letting people be who they are. There's many opportunities, and he doesn't take those opportunities. There's no social commentary. There's no preaching. In fact, it's almost like an opposite of a dystopian book, because in we have this concept of in storytelling, which is show, don't tell. So you show what a character is thinking rather than just tell it. And so with dystopian literature, for example, they show you this horrible world, and from that you're supposed to understand, oh yes, we have to be careful about the government or whatever, you know. So here it's like the opposite. Gravity shows us a great world. They show us two people are in love, and it's great, and they're treating each other well, which is great, and they're friends, and everyone is getting along, and everyone's happy that they're in love. So it's just showing you, it's like utopic almost, and it's very effective. It's far more effective in showing us what it's like to be a good society without having to tell us, you know, this is the right way to do things. No, just show it to us. This is people being in love, and it's a beautiful thing. And I think that is not realistic. I think if hockey players were to come out as an openly gay couple, I think there would be a segment of society or a segment of hockey fans that would react badly to that. It's not addressed in this book. And I think that's effective. It's effective at making a point because it shows us what a good society could be like, you know? So I really appreciate that, because I wasn't in the mood for social commentary or preaching. I just wanted a love story. That's exactly what the book gave me. So I was very happy, very happy. So what is next for me in this romance world? Well, I will say that Gravity gave me exactly what I was looking for. It was the perfect change of pace that I needed. But I'm going to go back to my literary and horror roots. And I will return to romance, surely, in another month or 2 or 3, whenever the need arises. But I'm not like super eager to get back into romance. But when I do want something different. Maybe a rom-com. Maybe a romantic classic. Oh, I don't know. I don't know what my next romance book will be. I know it won't be in the immediate future. Like, it won't be in the month of March. We'll see. Have you any experience with Tal Bauer? Have you read any of his books? Have you read Gravity? What do you think my next romance book should be? I always enjoy hearing from you in the comment section. If you are not a subscriber, please do subscribe, because every time I post a video that is not about horror, I lose subscribers, which I don't like to lose subscribers. But I also intend on posting videos that are about all kinds of different genres, not just horror.